Hello and welcome to the Reboot Something podcast by Trilogy Innovations. I'm your host, Chad Jeffries, and with us today we have co-founders Randy and Brandon, and we have Scott Dix over here. And we're super excited to be talking to you guys today about TechYeah Conference. Now, TechYeah Conference is going to be in Fairmont, West Virginia on August 23rd. Reference links and everything will be in the show notes below. But we're here to talk about TechYeah today. So super excited, and thank you so much for joining us. So let's talk about it. I'm sure everybody's wondering, what is TechYeah? So let's start there. I know that you guys have some background on it. So let's start with you guys.
Very valid question. Very valid first question. Right?
Yes. What is
TechYeah?
Just jump right in.
So in a nutshell, it's to stimulate economic diversity within West Virginia by highlighting a lot of the technical expertise, small businesses within the area.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, you know, the thing about TechYeah that is really amazing to me, and just north central West Virginia, period, is the massive footprint that we have up here for the federal government. You know, even growing up in the region, you kind of knew stuff was around, and you know, of course, as new agencies came to West Virginia, it was big news and things like that. But you know, as a kid, I don't think I really understood the impact of having Department of Energy and NOAA and FBI and NASA. I mean, we've got tons of really important facilities right here in West Virginia.
A lot of those are actually tucked away out of view.
Yes.
You can drive by and not know that they're there. Right?
That's right.
But working in the industry over years, you get to know people, you get to know those agencies that are there and actually know the impact that they actually have on families in the area and outside now, especially with remote and telework.
It's also funny because everybody thinks it's a mystery too, because up in behind the IVMB facility, for example, there's this golf ball looking thing. And they're like, what is that? A spaceship? What's it feeding into it? And then NOAA moves into the I-79 Technology Park. And then there's these giant satellites up there. They're like, what are they doing up there? Right. And that's part of why we're doing this, is to make sure that people are aware all the good work that is happening here, and hopefully drive in more government agencies to take a look at our area, especially the cost in the DC area of what it costs to kind of run these organizations there and what they're paying out. Our tax dollars, could probably be better spent here. Not to mention from a security standpoint, if we were targeted in the DC area, if, heaven forbid there's missile attacks or something, we don't want it to wipe out everything that we're doing, especially, we have the FBI here.
Did someone say Greenbrier? West Virginia? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Look it up if you don't know what Greenbrier is. It is super great. It's super great. But I actually saw an article posted this morning on LinkedIn. I think it was by Andy Malinowski and his team.
Oh, yeah.
About how where we are in West Virginia, actually it's just to the east of us where we are, is within 500 miles of 50% of the U.S.'s population and 30% of Canada's population, right here in West Virginia.
Oh, I did see that.
When you talk about 500 miles, in 2022, it's actually not a huge distance to traverse, especially with the airports in Pittsburgh. We've got one in Clarksburg as well. Heck, we've even got a little one in Morgantown as well that can be done. So the accessibility to West Virginia is pretty easy. I mean, we do day trips over to DC all the time, right across I-68. It's a piece of cake. And so it's really fun to invite people from that side generally, and from Pittsburgh and surrounding regions our way, and come in and get to see the beauty of West Virginia and also the incredible capabilities that we have here in our state.
If we can just get them to fund the rest of Quarter H, that would probably be great. Maybe we could put something down in Flatwoods or something,
He grew up in the area.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
He's seen it started but not finished, right?
Yes. Because it goes right through Elkins. So,
Right.
And it's funny because whenever I go back home now, everybody has to get off at Elkins. You can't keep going down Quarter H. They did have it opened where you go to Parsons, but I guess they're working on stuff still. So,
just for clarification, are we all born in West Virginia? All four of us?
I was not born in West Virginia, but
you have lived here your whole life, pretty much.
You should have said
native West Virginia.
All of us.
Outlander, get him out of here! Outlander.
I'm a military brat.
Fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's good.
Yes.
So
to circle back to TechYeah, there are a lot of reasons why, but there are several core pillars to the actual conference.
Yes.
One being to attract more federal business within the area, but also keep federal business in the area as well.
Yeah.
Right. with technology advancing as much as it has, we've given reason for a lot of telework scenarios, remote work, etc. One thing that we want to do is definitely want to highlight technology, but we also work extremely hard getting those agencies here.
Right.
And we want to keep them here, right? But we want to start highlighting some of those. But we also want to, part of the actual conference is to highlight some of the emerging technologies as well, right? And in order to keep West Virginia in that conversation, Trilogy, I know, has a rich, relationship with a lot of different industry leaders, right? We've hitched our wagon to companies that simply are introducing new capabilities in the industry all the time. So we keep our ear to the ground and make sure that not only we are, kept apprised of all new technologies, but we also want to make sure that everyone within West Virginia in terms of workforce development also has access to that as well.
Right.
So this conference gives them that capability, right, to come in, listen to the leaders talking about what's coming next.
Right. No, and so TechYeah really highlights the West Virginia-based companies that are forging a new future through the technology movement. So, Brandon, can you tell us, a little bit, or some of the, companies that are doing that besides Trilogy, obviously?
There's a lot of, one of the things we want to do is highlight a lot of the small businesses, right? It's not just Trilogy carrying a torch. There's everyone carrying that torch, right? So it's every single one within the I-79 corridor, Morgantown. It's, even south of us, within the Charleston area. Yeah. So it's everyone that's doing work across biometrics, cloud, cybersecurity. It's everything. We want to highlight every single one. So it's not just one, right? It's every single one of the technology companies that we want to highlight.
Well, and to piggyback off of that, we're working with a lot of these major vendors, and even moving to the cloud, the AWS, the Microsoft, the Googles, right? And we're trying to bring them here to help them integrate into these agencies. So that way, then they're moving their footprint here as well. If you're servicing 10 different government agencies with some of these massive contracts, hey, you might want to put a footprint, say, for Google in Fairmont, right? So, this is the ripple effect that we're talking about. Having these agencies here, businesses like ours pop up in around that, but then what? Those people have to eat. So then restaurants start popping up, right? A lot of these people work out, and then all these gyms, and a lot of people don't see the ripple effect that this has. I know West Virginia is big on tourism, and that's just it. You move to the area, you get to work in a great place. It's cheap living costs, but then the scenery and everything that's around here and the places you can go, the outdoor things is just phenomenal.
It is.
Well, it's been a huge attractor, too. I mean, not just Trilogy. I mean, although we have been pulling in people who, many of us were native West Virginians, moved away because opportunities were elsewhere. Even though for 6 years I served as a contractor at NETL right here in Morgantown, I didn't live in West Virginia. Those tax dollars were not coming here to West Virginia.
Correct.
And that is a problem. And so, I've moved back here to West Virginia. We've had our VP. Thank you very much. We have our VP of operations,
2 weeks
Shane.
ago.
Coming back in.
He's our fifth one. You're our fifth one now, actually.
So we pulled 5 people back with a company of we're 40-something strong now at this point.
Like an eighth of our workforce has actually
moved
been
into
back.
the state. And, we're just one of many. I mean, there are a lot of really terrific companies right here in West Virginia. They're doing incredible work. And that's one of the things we want to highlight, with TechYeah as well.
Right.
There's a commerce conversation, too, going on about, we're breeding competition. Absolutely we are. But here's something that we also need to keep in mind. There's no competition if there are no opportunities here.
Right.
Period. None of us
a great point.
None of us eat.
That's a great
point.
So
the point is we have to come together.
Yeah.
Right? That's one thing about West Virginia. Every single one of us know here. It's one thing about West Virginia. We're always willing to put those boots on, hold them up, and let's get to work.
Right.
But we also have to come together, right? We have to understand that unless we have diversity here in terms of not just the government agencies, but bringing in more government agencies, then we give opportunities for our kids that are graduating high school, college, et cetera, to have opportunities to stay within the state.
Absolutely.
Now, we always celebrate the amount of businesses, the amount of people that are coming into West Virginia, but no one's asking the question of how many people are leaving.
Exactly.
We're one of the worst states
for brain drain
that are leaving, right? Because there are no opportunities here. So again, this is trying to, now granted, there are many variables to the problem.
Yeah.
Right? We're not going to solve all of them, but you have to start somewhere. Right. We can't just always sit around and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Action is needed.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
We have to get started somewhere.
And that was the reason we brought Jim Estep in on our first episode. I mean, he talked about the higher educational, attainment and actually keeping, we have such great education here in West Virginia at the higher level. It's how do we actually keep those people here? And I think we're, me and Scott in particular, and some of these other folks are great examples of leaving the state, but then coming back because of companies like Trilogy. And,
and that money that is coming in for this conference, we actually started a nonprofit organization.
Right. Yeah. So tell us about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're planning to do with that money is do more of these STEM projects. Make sure that kids are aware, especially in the next 10 years. There's the Advanced Aerial Mobilization project that's going on right now. Right. So drones are going to be more active in our day-to-day lives, whether it's delivering our packages or us. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Working with all the different airports here in the state, they're putting all that stuff into place now. So instead of a kid saying, "I want to be a police officer or firefighter," which are great professions, don't get me wrong, we're not wanting to replace those, but we want them to say, "Hey, I want to be a drone pilot," or, I want to do data research or something like that. But they don't know that if we're not out there showing them a path to the future. And we have to start with K through 12, not just whenever they get to college or in their final years of schooling, but we got to start them young. So they see this, they're like, put a little Lego guy together, write a program, and make a walk across the table. Yeah. That's what get kids excited. I think that something similar happened to you to get you down the programming path, right? Whenever you had the goofy winking.
Wait, now we got to hear the story.
I have not heard this one yet.
Right. So in the 90s, obviously there wasn't a lot of computer labs, right? So
or Google.
Right? Yes. For us to do any type of research, it was like, okay, where are the disks at, so I can at least search the content on them. So Mr. White was one of my teachers growing up, and he was very, very progressive, right? He had the grants in to get computers and things of that nature. And I remember it was an Apple IIe that we were working on. And we learned basic. We learned basic, like the language basic.
Yeah, basic, yeah.
And part of our project was, hey, you need to do something with it. So it just my personality is like, hey, what can I do extreme, right? Not just meet, but exceed. So I got the resolution of the screen, drew out Pluto, actually.
Oh, it was Pluto.
Yeah. And then what I did was I made the eyes blink within the loop, timeouts and things of that nature. So that was my first introduction. But it wasn't until really high school, one of my best friends, still one of my best friends today, he was the programmer. Like he's probably one of the most skilled programmers I've ever known in my life. Right? Yeah.
Where's his resume?
I was going to say, why is he not working for Trilogy?
Who is this man? Sorry to interrupt.
So Mark, if you're out there,
if you see this,
appreciate it.
We'll take your resume.
But no, he's the one that showed me, right? And he's the one that got me interested. And I've told him this many, many times, right? But it wasn't because of that. He also had the means by which to do it. His parents were professors in physics and English. So he had a computer, showed me around, that sparked my interest.
That's great.
And I, literally started off with pre-med, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to this computer science, computer engineering field, right?
That's awesome.
Switched over, the rest is history.
Rest is history.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're planning on doing with this. So the Charles Robert Pinkerton Foundation is going to be giving back from an educational standpoint, whether it's doing STEM, helping kids with computer labs. I know they're trying to do a lot of things, rolling out broadband here in the state, which is a great initiative. But what are we going to do with that, right? We got to put these different type of technologies in these kids' hands to let them leverage the investment that the state is making in the internet.
Right. So that's where sponsorship dollars are going. Really, all of the funding from or sponsorship dollars and even tickets from general attendees.
And it's also going trying to promote next year's as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
so
exactly.
Next year, this is the inaugural.
Right.
But, it's not stopping anytime soon. Let's put it that way.
So if you see me on vacation, it was not paid by any of those dollars.
No. The whole point here is to create more of these opportunities. Mentorship is absolutely essential. I think we've probably all got those stories. I'm blessed to have a great mentor as well he lives just across West Virginia line, can throw a stone in the Mon, and runs all the high performance computing stuff at the National Energy Technology Laboratory, has for 20 some years. He was my mentor as a teenager. We did stuff that you could have never done this stuff in school. I mean, the stuff that Mike had us doing, Mike Brinke from ALS Technologies, was just insane. I mean, the whiteboard sessions that we had back in the day were just crazy and probably borderline dangerous at times. We're like, I don't know if we should build a railgun today, Mike.
Right.
I'm 16. But these are the kinds of things we were learning about, all of these different pieces. And without that mentorship that we can provide, both through Trilogy and through the Pinkerton Foundation, we can spark new ideas while we're simultaneously working with our competitors and teammates, because that's the way the government world works. We have to play together. We're all working to grow. I mean, I see every day on LinkedIn, Ian Fasal's hiring, Lakota, all of the Next Gen, Trilogy, all of these people are putting out, we're hiring, and they need people here in the state to do that. And the state is getting to be a better and better place to live, work, and play. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
So let's shift gears and talk about who should attend. Like who's the main audience? Aside from all the great technology companies that are coming in for our listeners who might even be attending. Which they should. So let's talk about that.
I'd like to start that one. Then I'll pass it over. Let's talk about who is attending right now.
Let's talk about who is attending.
The early morning, the first half of the day. I'm gonna hit my microphone here. Just going to box that thing off. Is a collection of speakers from these agencies, right, that we have here in West Virginia. So we've got the director of NETL, Dr. Brian Anderson, is coming in. Terrific. I mean, they're a great story under the Department of Energy. The mission is super cool. The simulation-based engineering that they do on their Joule supercomputer is just out of this world. And if you're interested, go check out mfix.org. It's their free modeling and simulation software that they have. So Dr. Anderson will be in. We've got Ken, how do you say his last name? Rem. Ken Rem, and he's the assistant director of NASA IVNV, another incredibly important facility to the entire organization of NASA. Independent validation and verification, or verification and validation, is part and parcel to everything that NASA does. All that code has to be assessed and tested to the nth degree. They've also got some really cool projects out there with their, is it NOS Cubed, I think, is one of their simulation-based tools. Again, open source. Some of the great work that is provided by the government, it's out there for us to use. You can download the stuff and use it on your own. We've got Frank Indiviglio, who's the CTO of NOAA, formerly the head of high-performance computing. We've got a little bit of a theme here with the high-performance computing, don't we? For NOAA, and they've got a footprint down in Fairmont that they recently expanded.
Yeah, so they expanded their data center.
Absolutely. And Frank was hugely influential in that, and then has continued to move up and sort of manage from, a higher level over there. So he's coming to talk about NOAA's mission and why they chose West Virginia to expand that footprint. And then I'm missing one.
Yeah, it's the Deputy Assistant Director for the FBI,
That's right, Brian Griffith.
Yeah.
We actually worked with Brian back in the day before we started Trilogy. ISR was that building, and ISR actually got bought out by the High Technology Foundation, right? And so he was actually working there before he went down the FBI. I think he went a year before we did, maybe in like 2008. But yeah, he's moved right up the ranks.
And has been part of it all along.
Been part of it all the way. So if there was anybody that can speak about that, it would definitely be him. So we're really happy to have him.
Yeah, that's excellent. And then we have some other speakers too.
Yeah,
right?
Jim Eastep.
Yeah,
I can't forget Jim. So Jim also works with a very important initiative called Opportunity Move, right? So as part of what we're doing, yes, we're shining the spotlight on local small businesses. We're trying to recruit government agencies, and that's kind of what he's doing to build up that I-79 technology park. So Jim's actually going to be talking about Opportunity Move, and then hopefully Frank will follow up after him to say why they did move NOAA here and why they're expanding out the data
And they worked
center.
together on that initiative.
They did.
They were
absolutely.
hand in hand to make that all happen.
Yeah. And then lastly, we'll have Mantech talking about the dark web, because again, this is a technology-based conference. So we want to showcase, cybersecurity is absolutely huge. If you have a cell phone right now and you're not getting a text saying, hey, your city loan went through, click the link and enter your information, right? So, I mean, there's constant attacks tax. So, doing this, raising awareness about these attacks is another thing that we're trying to do. But we have biometrics. We have some of the leading edge in biometrics, identity management. Okta will be there. Right?
And Rank One just opened a new office here in Morgantown.
Yes.
Incredible company with great
Vantage
technology.
Ventures. Yep.
Absolutely. Vantage is playing a huge role in this in the development of West Virginia as well.
Yeah, and that's also piggybacking off this in West Virginia, because again, that's what we're trying to do, is show all the different opportunities you have here in the state. And what you had hit on earlier, and I know me and Brandon talked with Senator Capito and Manchin's office yesterday, was with the remote, if they're in other states, we're having to pay those taxes out to those states, right? But if we can get them to move here and still do that job in California, they don't have to have a $350,000 salary living in an 800 square foot place. You're going to have an 8,000 square foot place here, working out of your home, doing the exact same thing at pennies on the dollar of what the cost would be.
Well, you just nailed it. I'm living it right now. I've been back in West Virginia for a couple of weeks. Feels great, by the way. August in West Virginia is beyond lovely. I can't even describe it. I woke up this morning and at the risk of getting a little too personal, I was driving over to get a cup of coffee, and the mist on the mountains brought a darn tear to my eye. I was like, it felt so good to be home, to have the windows rolled down and smell that. It was incredible. But you had mentioned Ascend West Virginia. That is an incredible program. It's basically used to incentivize people to come either back to West Virginia or consider West Virginia, even if you work remotely. For example, if that job's in California, fine, live in West Virginia, pay taxes here, and they'll pay to help get you back here. We've had a couple people take advantage of that.
Shane Powers.
I couldn't wait. I'm like,
he's like,
I'm not going to wait. I'm just coming back. So
you can still apply.
Yeah, I'm leaving a little blood on the table there, but it was like, I just need to get back here.
Right. So, that's absolutely great.
And a lot of the companies that you guys mentioned, I mean, they're definitely ultra important in terms of, again, the economic diversity, economic development. But those just small fraction, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
The larger pie, if you will, that's needed to get this thing moving. Right? We got to have that momentum going forward. But
thanks to a lot of the companies, organizing companies that helped us in this effort, Forge Business Solutions, ATS, Vertex, Stratogen,
AST.
Oh, AST.
Allegheny Science Technologies.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
No, huge partner. Vertex Partners is here, like you said. Mantech has been pivotal in this entire process as well.
Tammy Lilio with NCMA.
IBM is another one, right?
Absolutely.
Strategy.
Right.
So let's talk about who should attend this event. Who are some of the people that listening right now that could attend? Like, is it just for technologists or?
Well, I can say that a lot of the interest we've been sort of promoting the event we've moved from sponsorships over to individuals. And some of our sponsors are incredible. IBM, Google, we've got some big names coming in. Red Hat is in there. We've got a lot of folks coming in. All of our sponsors, or all of our committee members who have helped us support the event, are also sponsors. So not only are they giving their time and their talent and their experience, they're also giving their dollars to support this thing, because they see how important it is as well. Now, from the individual side, some of the folks that have been keenly interested are folks that I don't think were really aware of how big of a footprint the federal government has here in North Central West Virginia specifically. So, I've been talking to folks, they're account execs, people who are bringing really interesting new technologies out into the federal space, which can be a challenge because, the federal government, they only have so much time to talk to all of us. There's a lot of us out there serving the federal government. So it's really hard sometimes to for them to give attention to a lot of new technologies. They got a mission to achieve, right?
We're working.
So one of the things that we do as a system integrator, and all of our partners are doing, is we try to say, hey, we've got this new technology. We've got something that we think you need to see that could be of value, that could accelerate the mission, could improve response times, for example. I mean, we've got programs that require response times that are to under 20 millisecond or something like that. They've got to be fast. And if we can improve those times, that's great. So we bring a lot of vendors in that have these new technologies, and technology is moving quickly. So we're talking about, maybe they've only existed for 2 or 3 years. Well, it's hard to hear about these things. So those folks, those account execs, those consultants, those subject matter experts,
BD professionals,
they want to come in and hear about what these agencies are trying to do. They want to know if you're using AI/ML, big broad term, right?
Right.
What are you doing inside of that space? If you're using a Kubernetes management plane, what are your goals inside of that? Because there's lots of ways to skin that cat for sure. If you're doing cloud and you need to manage cloud, what does that look like? So we've seen a lot of BD professionals get very interested, mostly because they want to come and learn more about what we're doing here to take that information out.
Yeah.
And I think that is absolutely essential, because if they don't know what's going on here, then we're not going to get the attention, we're not going to get the focus, we're not going to get those new technologies brought to us. And I think that's probably one of the things that makes me happiest is to see people, BD professionals like me, get excited about coming to West Virginia and learning about what we're doing here and how they can work here. And I think that helps to kind of build the strength that we already have here and kind of continue to bolster that.
And we're actually trying to foster that. So we talked about the speakers. So that was kind of like what's going on in the morning. Of course, we have lunch. The coffee is actually going to be sponsored in the afternoon by Strategen, right? But that's to keep you going. And then we have the exhibitors that's going to be in the main hall there. So you can go see these technologies and watch demos and stuff like that. But we allotted time for actual networking, right? Because at the end of the day, some of these smaller companies and stuff, they might not have the relationships with these BDs of the Mantex, the Accentures, the Leidos, IBMs. So this gives them a chance to actually go and talk to those folks to say, well, this is kind of our core capabilities. This is my area of focus. How can we work together to do other things? So it's fostering, again, opportunities, growth, and at the end of the day, more revenue coming back to our state.
Right. And while we're not doing a formal matchmaking event by any stretch of the imagination, these are the prime contract holders at a lot of these organizations. These are the folks that we need to know and who are looking for support, team members, and things of that nature, whether it's here in West Virginia or beyond.
Or elsewhere, right?
Yeah. Yep. So it's networking with federal agencies, a lot of the big decision makers, as well as engaging with these
and IT professionals
and IT exactly.
Right. We've got a lot of actual folks that are hands on keyboard doing this stuff. They're coming out to see what is coming next as well.
Yeah, and we actually even have some student organizations too that's wanting to kind of come and see, like, hey, I'm graduating in a year or two. These are the companies you need to be getting internships with, right? Yep. So if you're not preparing yourself for when you graduate, because I know a lot of kids like, I got my degree, but I didn't have anything. If you're not out there talking to these companies and saying, what internships do you guys have? Like, what areas of expertise do you do? This is the great event for that. So I know we're going to have some of those folks attending as well.
Focus on those main areas that they know that their clients are wanting.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So, I mean, a lot of we all been here. There's core curriculum, right? And then there's the work that you do outside of the classroom.
Right. Exactly.
That's where the real work begins. That's where you actually do that self-study. That's where you actually increase your skill set, right? Yeah. It's those off hours, but this will allow them to prioritize what they learn based upon what's out there and what those companies are looking for.
Feels like a great time to give a good plug for our Trilogy interns who are kicking butt.
Yes, they are. But I was actually just going to say that, and that's what we do, is try to prepare our interns, because we see what's coming out there. We know what's coming next, and even if it's not covered in the curriculum, we show them the areas of focus that they need to be doing. And having an event like this to say, wow, I never even thought about artificial intelligence, machine learning. How are these models trained and that kind of stuff? Getting them excited about that. So that way during the internship, we'll put them in real world situations. So that way, whenever they graduate, they can hit the ground running and say, yeah, I do have experience with X, Y, and Z technology.
And there's only so much you can learn in a 4-year curriculum.
Yes. Right.
And a lot of that stuff gets lost. And that's the things that you pick up within the actual first year of your professional career. The problem is that we want to build as much confidence and skill within our interns, so that when they do go out into the job market, they have an advantage because they already have the certifications, right? They've worked in a team. They've learned to communicate. Now, I'll say this again, technology changes all the time, all the time, right? We rebrand things, right, and call it new. Right. Because like I said, if you're in this industry long enough, what's old is new again, right? It's the truth. Right. But the thing of it is that you can learn to study. You can learn to work in a group. You can learn to start peeling back the technology and get rid of the complexity. Right? So we build experience. We build context so that they can go out there and be effective within the workforce.
Yeah. And, to jump off of that, I think one of the things that we do with our interns, and I'll circle this back around on TechYeah in a way too, is to help people see what's possible. A lot of times, you get these ideas of like, you hear things like AI, ML, and it sounds too big and too complicated and too new. And the fact of the matter is there are entry points into every technology. I don't care if it's high performance computing, AI, ML, simulation-based engineering, it doesn't matter what it is. There are entry points where it can be accessible to everyone. You just need the right experts.
Right.
And the expertise to say, well, let's start over here and then we'll layer you in. I know that's happening with our interns. Now you flip that over to TechYeah. I know that growing up, in West Virginia and, some in Pennsylvania as well. I also spent some time in Fayette County and there's a lot of negative stereotype.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of negative stereotype. And there were times as a younger person where I was very defensive and felt very like, why are people, all my friends are super smart.
Yeah.
They're doing all these great things.
They're
teaching me how to do these things. I'm watching all this stuff happen. Where is this idea coming from? And it's just not a correct assumption. Mm-hmm. And so I think a big part of what we try to do every day is reconcile ideas that are actual facts against stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
And TechYeah is an opportunity to do that, to come out and really take a look. I mean, we have, all of these major federal agencies out here doing incredibly complex work, some of which we can't even talk about.
Right, that's correct.
That's top secret. And man, the stuff that's going on there is just phenomenal. I mean, it's so complicated. It's so high tech. It's so advanced. And for some people, they don't reconcile that with West Virginia. And that's one of the perceptions we're trying to change as well.
Absolutely.
Is this capability. It's one is the work ethic that, we all learned from.
That we all have,
Yeah, we all learned it, one or another. I mean, I was talking about with my grandmother the other day about growing up with my grandpa. Shug was his name. we love nicknames in West Virginia for sure. And but Grandpa Shug was always fixing something, and that was a big part of it. And it gave that confidence. And so what we're looking to do is, whether it's with our interns, whether it's with businesses that are looking to West Virginia to do business, you can have confidence that we're going to get it done out here. And TechYeah is a great highlight and a place to kind of come and feel that.
We're going to change those stereotypes.
Absolutely.
We're going to give people a reason to reconsider those stereotypes.
Right.
Give us new ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Those hardworking people, technology-based people in West Virginia. We're going to make that happen.
And that's the theme of this podcast. The TechYeah Conference is again raising our voice and really showcasing and highlighting the innovation that's happening and really changing that mindset from a coal state to a technology state. And I think Randy says it the best. What, the Silicon Valley of the East?
Oh yeah, I say we're the Silicon Mountains.
Silicon Mountains.
It's kind of interesting. We started that initiative internally, raising our voice.
Raise our voice.
And now we have literally made trips, talked to our politicians that represent the state. We talked to
federal yesterday.
Federal agencies, and we're raising the voice for the entire state now.
Yeah.
That's the new slogan for us.
Right?
We're trying to raise it for the entire state.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
And kudos to all the other companies and leaders that are doing that, because I think that's true leadership, is doing it behind the scenes and watching that ripple effect.
And to Brandon's point, that's how this all really did get started. We were just talking like, how do we get on people's roadmaps? How do we raise our voice? And we talked about putting this together. And TechYeah is actually a playoff of hashtag Yes West Virginia, because a lot of people didn't know no was in West Virginia, and they would say Yes West Virginia. So that was part of the economic development from the state that where they were trying to do that. So we just coined the term TechYeah to play off of that, because we're technology based, and yes, FBI is here. Yes, Department of Energy is here, right? So that's what we're trying to do. But then as we got moving, this thing just kind of blew up, and we're like, well, they're doing this out in Martinsburg, they're doing this in Parkersburg, they're doing this in Charleston. Like, how do we bring all that together and shine that big spotlight on our state and get that message out there to everybody to let them know, hey, this is a great place to be.
And we're more than just a stereotype.
Yeah, we're more than just a stereotype.
100%.
That's right.
Absolutely. So, I mean, this has been a great discussion. I absolutely think that this is something something that everybody should attend, whether it's you're thinking about going into technology, or if you're currently learning, whether it's high school or even at the university level. We encourage everybody to come to this event and experience the knowledge sharing that's happening. So does anybody else have any final thoughts?
Just a couple things.
Yeah.
Check out the website at TechYeah That'll be in the notes as well.
Yep.
The price is right. We really wanted to price this affordably so that people would come in. If you are a student, whether that's high school student or a college student or even a recent college grad, let the folks at the table know that. And then, get hooked up with one of us so that we can definitely kind of take you through and get you introduced to people and kind of see how things are going. Because I know it can be intimidating coming to a conference if you've never been to this sort of thing before. We're happy to help. I'm Scott Dix, Chad Jeffries, Brandon Downey, Randy Cottle. We'll be there.
Yeah.
So just grab us and we'll be happy to talk to you and help.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I'm glad you mentioned that actually. Yeah. So like Scott said, all of the links will be in the show notes. So you can find the event registration, just learn more about TechYeah. So you can see www.TechYeahConference.com. So go check it out. Be sure to hit the like, share this episode with people that you think might find this information relevant. So we certainly do. And I know a lot of people around the state that are doing these things the same way.
And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast as well.
Yes,
right. And share it with your fellow West Virginians, because we'll get them fired up too.
Yeah.
Especially if they're out of state. If they moved away, if they're in North Carolina, South, come back.
Right. Absolutely. So again, this is on August 23rd. We're also having a small networking event before the day before on the 22nd. That's Scott. Can you talk a little bit about that actually?
Absolutely. So that's at the Waterfront Marriott in Morgantown. So the event itself is at the Robert H. Mollahan Center down in Fairmont. Mm-hmm. It's about a 30-minute drive between. The evening before, we're actually going to hold a mixer from 6 to 8 at the Waterfront Marriott downtown in Morgantown, and we'll have a room back there. I'm guessing, right? A separate room back in the back to network and do those kinds of things. So if nothing else, check us out for that. It's a great mixer, a great event.
And you do not need a ticket for a ticket to the event for that.
Not necessarily. Yeah. No, so this is for our friends and colleagues, to come in and kind of mix it up a little bit.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's actually sponsored by Trilogy. So that is a Trilogy-based mixer.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Reboot Something podcast by Trilogy Innovations. We created this podcast as an outlet to share knowledge through the lens of IT professionals in government contracting. Now, our goal is to reboot something. Something being the topic of discussion for each episode. Topics range from cutting-edge technologies and how we use them to current events and the economic impact that stems from federal operations. Join me and Team Trilogy's subject matter experts for in-depth discussions with guests to include partners, community leaders, technologists, entrepreneurs, and other organizations like Trilogy who are involved in improving the economic landscape through the technology movement. We believe that these conversations will help educate and inspire other professionals, political decision makers, industry leaders, and even the next generation of technologists. Our goal is to ultimately reboot the way we think about each topic that's going to be discussed. Be sure to subscribe on whatever podcast medium you're listening to, and check out our YouTube channel for the accompanied video for each episode.